Am I the asshole for not wanting a relationship with my narcissistic father? I am going through some emotional stuff and I could use some outside perspective. I 33 do not have the best relationship with my father. In fact, I resent him. It wasn't always like this. There was a time where I probably would have helped him bury the bodies if he asked me to, but now I can't look at or think about him without getting heated. This story goes back to 2011 when I got accepted into college. It wasn't my first choice, but it was a good school and I was proud. A little background: I was diagnosed with severe ADHD as a kid and had a learning disability. For me, college was a dream. My mother went Ivy League and my father was a second-gen college student, so higher ed was an expectation on my fam. As a kid, my first grade once said in front of the whole class that I'd never go to college and would be lucky to get a job flipping burgers at BK. Seriously, fuck that bitch. I worked hard in high school, took honors AP classes, played football, and eventually got into 3 universities, choosing my safe school mostly to get some independence from home. When I got my acceptance letter, everyone was happy, especially my father. But the next day he changed. He started by pushing me to join AFROTC. I wasn't interested, and then to major in engineering. I've never been into math or science, my passion was history, but he pushed hard. He got family, friends, and engineers to pressure me too. His game plan, as he put it, was simple. Here's the plan. He told me with his shit-eating grin, you're going to take engineering, that way you can get a great job after college, and once you get that job I won't pay your loans. It sounded practical, but I still wasn't interested. He turned the whole college road into being about him. Dictating clubs, stopping me from playing football, even forcing me into a crappy minimum wage union job that ate into my checks. I finally put my foot down and said that I was taking history. He looked like I'd canceled Christmas. 2 weeks later, he gave me the ultimatum. I pay the piper, I pick the tune. If I didn't do engineering, he'd cut off my college fund. Backed into a corner, I gave in. I hated every second of it. I was miserable, behind in my classes, exhausted and ashamed. Eventually I switched to poli-sci since I'd always been interested in law. When I told my dad, I expected some understanding. Instead, he looked me in the eye and said, "You should have cut yourself off from the family." That broke me. He called me selfish, reckless, reminded me he was my benefactor, and still demanded the right to control me. From there, things only got worse. Fighting, manipulation, snooping, gaslighting, even using my autistic bro to dig my transcripts. At one point I attempted suicide. When I told Dad, his response was basically, he was glad I didn't go through with it because otherwise he'd have to pay for a funeral. That's my dad for you. Years passed. I blocked him for a while, eventually only emailed. I didn't invite him to graduation. When I later ranted to my mom about how much I resented him, he overheard on speakerphone. He was shocked and hurt that I felt that way. I half apologized just to keep family peace. Fast forward, I am now a homeowner, engaged to an amazing woman and working toward law school. My dad found out about my engagement through a family friend. Recently, since he retired, he's been trying to rebuild our relationship. Against my better judgment, I let him visit. I set simple boundaries and he agreed. But during the trip he spilled kombucha all over my carpet, got mad at me for being upset and didn't even try to clean it. Made me wait 15 minutes at a golf course because he was drinking with strangers. Criticized my house and suggested upgrades that he wouldn't pay for. Called me his dinner companion during a business call instead of his son. Passed out drunk while nearly burning down my kitchen by leaving chili on the stove. I completely lost it on him. By the end, I told him flat out that I don't trust him, that he's selfish, self-righteous, and throws tantrums when he doesn't head his way. If he weren't family, I would have cut him out years ago. I drove him to the airport the next morning. No hug, no goodbye, just walked off. Now he wants to try again, but I honestly don't see the point. He destroyed my trust years ago, nothing has changed. There was an entire campaign from my family to let it go and reminded me that I had one father. My father even reached out, hoping to talk some more, and after several weeks of therapy discussing this, I think I have a solution. He wants to get back in my life, that's fine, however, I am leaving conditions. I showed my sister and my brother these conditions, and my sister kept it professional, saying that she would look into it. My brother, on the other hand, thought I'm going to extreme and that this is an impossible list for him to honor. I don't want it to be easy, I want to know that he can actually respect boundaries. Some of you might think similarly to my brother, some of you might suggest like before to cut him off, but I want to know if this is too extreme. My father has spent years exerting control over my life in ways that were selfish, damaging, and entirely unjustifiable. He dictated my academic path, interfered with my career choices, and dismissed my goals in favor of what he wanted, usually to save himself money or maintain control. These choices sabotaged my academic record, limited my opportunities, and caused long-term harm. He did this knowingly and without regard for the consequences to me. He also controlled where I worked, even when better opportunities were available. I was put in a position where I had to tell people I wasn't allowed to pursue other jobs. That dynamic made me feel weak, subordinate, and trapped. No parent should ever put their child in that position. There were further boundary violations, including using my brother to access my private academic records and coerce me into printing them out for him illegally. That is not a mistake, that is manipulation. All of this has created one unshakable truth: I do not trust him. He has earned that distrust through consistent patterns of self-serving, dismissive, and controlling behavior. Now he wants to come back into my life. If that is to happen, it will be under strict and immovable conditions. I am not returning to a dynamic where my voice is buried and my choices overridden. That era of my life is permanently over. Non-negotiable boundaries: when I say stop, you stop. If I end a conversation, shut down a topic, or tell you to back off, that is the end of it. There is no arguing, no lecturing, no pushing. You do not get to bulldoze me anymore. Absolutely no unsolicited advice. If I want your opinion, I will ask for it. Otherwise, keep it to yourself. You lost the privilege of directing my life a long time ago. No criticism unless you are the one fixing the problem. If you think something in my home needs work, then you can volunteer to handle it. If you're not stepping up, you don't get to speak on it. Complaints without action are not welcome. You do not have automatic access to me or my home. There is no open invitation. You come over only when I invite you and only on my terms. No surprise visits, no inserting yourself where you're not wanted. You need therapy. Your patterns, controlling behavior, manipulation, emotional disregard are harmful. If you want any place in my life moving forward, you must work with a therapist to address these issues. This is a condition, not a suggestion. You need to accept your role in the damage you caused. You are the bad guy in my story because of your actions. Not because I want it that way, not because I'm rewriting history, but because you earned that position. Acknowledging that is your responsibility if you want any chance at rebuilding trust. This is your final chance. If you violate these boundaries even once, I'm done. There will be no warnings, no second chances, and no discussions. You step out of line, I walk away permanently. Why these boundaries exist? These boundaries are here because your history has proven that without clear and enforced limits, you will overstep, manipulate, control, and damage. I refuse to repeat the past. I am not the child you could push around anymore. If you want a relationship going forward, this is the only way it happens. If you can't handle that, then we part ways here. I know some of you might think this is crazy, but believe me, I would not even throw these up there unless I can't trust him. Let me know what you think. Am taking this too far? AITA for wanting to keep him at arm's length. Am I being unreasonable? My sister has given him the list and he has declared that he has accepted everything. Not very hopeful, but let's see how long it lasts.